Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Graphic Design is Fun podcast. My name's Dan. Today, we're chatting with the wonderful, incredible, cool Cymone Wilder. Cymone works as an in-house designer and art director by day and is a lettering artist extraordinaire by night and probably weekends under the name Simon and Moose. And we'll get into who exactly this so-called Moose character is. Don't worry about that. If you want to check out Cymone's work, highly recommend you click the link in the show notes. You'll find her Instagram and her website, and go peruse and enjoy her beautiful work. Cymone has worked with some big names such as Netflix, HBO, Nickelodeon, Wired Magazine, Cosmopolitan Magazine, and many more. In our conversation, we talked about her early inspiration in the world of lettering, talked about her early days freelancing, specifically the challenge of pricing your work as an artist or designer, and we talked about how she has managed to balance all of her freelance work while having a full-time job all these years, including times where she's struggled with burnout. And Cymone is very open, very real, also very chill, which I respect, very relaxed. We had a laid back conversation, which I really enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Quickly, before we get into it, if you want to support the podcast, best thing you can do is share it, send it to a friend, share it on social media. Also, you can leave a 5-star review. You can write a little thing if you want, or you don't have to write anything. Either way, it helps more people find the show and would be super appreciated. But all right, without further ado, here is today's conversation with Cymone Wilder. And you're in Nashville, correct?
Yep, that's right.
How do you like it there? I've never been to many places in the States.
I mean, it's great. I always tell people that I love it and I hate it. There's a lot of change that's happening that does not really benefit every person in the city. But I think that's just the life of a
lot
city.
Of places, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. But overall, decent. I mean, you're still there, so I guess you can't hate it too much.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, again, like I said, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. You've done a lot of like cool podcasts and interviews and stuff. Like with some people, when I asked them to come on this, I kind of have nothing to go off of. But like you've done so many cool like little videos and like Adobe feature this and that. It's pretty. So do you like doing this kind of thing, or is it just like people ask you and you're like, okay, sure?
I think there's both sides of it. Like I always just, sure, let's do it. It's more exposure, I guess. But I just like to talk to people, and anytime someone asks me a question, I'm happy to answer it because I'm not very good about sharing like on my own. So whenever people have like a list of questions, I'm like, cool, let's do it.
Really though? Because I feel like you do a pretty good job of sharing. Like your Instagram is very like open. Like you kind of share kind of personal stuff. Is that like you're sort of forcing yourself to do it because you know it like can be helpful, or?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is like my only way to market myself. And so I know I have to post, and if I'm going to post, I'd like to kind of be my truest self. So
Sure.
That's kind of that why behind it. But like in conversation with people, I prefer to be the listener. So it's good to get asked the question here and now.
Interesting. I'm the same way. I'm more of a listener, I guess. So maybe we'll just cancel each other out, and this will be a horrible episode. But we'll see.
It'll just be an hour of silence.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I mean, let's just like start, I guess, with like the basic stuff. How you got into design, and I am curious. Like you do a lot of like cool typography, custom lettering. Is that how you got into design, or did that come a little bit later? And maybe you started more with the traditional kind of graphic design. How did that all start for you?
It wasn't like a one before the other. I've always been kind of interested in lettering and type. It just happened that I went to college and decided I was going to do graphic design. And then pretty quickly after, I realized that lettering is like an actual thing you can do and not just a thing you can kind of be interested in. So, I went to school, and then maybe like a year later, I was getting into lettering almost as a business pretty
So
quickly.
so out of high school, you were like, I want to pursue graphic design. Like you already knew that that was sort of where you wanted to go.
Yeah, when I was in high school, it was either graphic design, which I had had zero experience with, or music business. And because music business felt like a double major, I was like, I'll do the art thing because that seems quicker and easier.
Music business. That's interesting. I've never heard of somebody like wanting to go into that.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool. So like working at like a record company or something like that, or
Yeah, I guess so. I like didn't really think too far into it, but yeah, I guess being in that world.
that's cool. And I mean, because you're like kind of musically inclined, eh? I saw that you play the drums a little bit, and
Yeah,
or no?
I haven't practiced the drums in a while, but that is like a goal of mine. But I grew up playing trombone and
Oh, cool.
guitar and stuff, so a little bit inclined, I suppose.
But ultimately, we're like, I'm gonna go for graphic design.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit better at it than I am the music stuff.
Fair. That's a fair reason to pursue something. So then you kind of got into the lettering stuff like a year or two into your design program, and then
Mhm.
kind of just ran with it.
Yeah, I think I was just like, I really enjoy this side of it. I know that I need to, learn the foundations of everything else, but this is like the fun thing. So I just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you mentioned like kind of that realization that, oh, this is something I can like do. Was
Mhm.
there something or somebody kind of like an early inspiration? You know what I mean? Like, so was there somebody that you saw doing kind of what you wanted to do and be like, oh, I can do that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been long inspired by Jessica Hish and Eric
Sure, yeah.
Moranovic. So
Sorry, what was the second name?
Eric Moranovic, I never know if I'm saying his last name right, Moranovic or Moranovic.
I don't know who that is.
I think you might know him if you saw him. I feel like he's kind of in that same kind of caliber of talent
Okay.
as Jessica, I think. But yeah, I've just kind of always followed them and was just like, oh, they're like doing this as a career. That's a thing I can also do.
Yeah. Actually, okay, well, this is, I don't know if there's anything here, but in your Instagram bio, like it says something along the lines of like, I like to draw letters good, but I love to draw letters bad. And I feel like I've seen other things you posted that are kind of like, we're not following the rules anymore. We're just going to do whatever. And like, because I feel like I've seen kind of a trend almost in that direction of like, let's explore like kind of breaking all the rules and just like doing things. Is that a thing for you, or is that just a fun Instagram caption?
Yeah, I mean it's both. I feel like it is a fun caption, but I think I like my work to feel just like casual, and I think that's kind of a thread in my life. Like I'm a casual person. I'm never like too buttoned up or professional, and so I always like to have kind of this level of grit. Maybe is too strong of a word, but this authenticity, I guess. And so I definitely don't want to come off as like I'm so good, I learned all the rules and I mastered it, and so now I can break the rules. I'm definitely still like learning all of the technical stuff, but I do feel like I've got it under my belt enough that I know where I can start to, in that same way, like find what my style is, what my voice is through that work.
For sure. Yeah, and that definitely comes through. Like this certain level of like, you've used the word crunchy before. Just like
Mm-hmm.
it's just real. It's not going to be the most polished thing, but there's
Yeah.
like a realness to that and like something nice about that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to talk about like because you work full time and you
Mm-hmm.
also freelance. You probably get this question all the time, but like that's a lot. That seems like a lot of work because you work with big clients. Like your freelancing thing is no joke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know. Can you talk a bit about that and I guess how you balance it? Because it seems like you're keeping busy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely busy, but this is kind of what my entire career has been like. right out of the gate, I was already freelancing and doing the full-time thing. So I will say it just feels like something, this is the way I know and I'm comfortable with. But I started freelancing in college just for extra cash. And then when I graduated, I still needed extra cash because life is expensive. And so I just kind of kept doing it. And for a long time, at least a few years, it was definitely like burning the candle at both ends and being just like way too busy and not having a ton of free time. And just like through the patterns of life, I've learned that that's, too much. And so I have some pretty good boundaries. And now I have an agent who kind of helps with a lot of the things that were like mentally taxing and making it more difficult than it could be. So there's, while I'm working on bigger clients, I feel like I am spending fewer hours in the work, just one, because I'm older, more skilled, and I can work quicker. But I think it's just like I have to have rest. So I have to, I got to make that space.
And is that something that you feel like has changed in the last like couple years, couple months, when did you feel that you kind of stopped burning yourself out?
I think that, I mean, it's definitely gone in season. So I feel like a few years ago I was like, okay, boundaries, yes. And then maybe a year later, like all of these really great projects were coming in. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of back in this like my physical health is impacted by stress. So I just need to like really tone it down and, protect myself and like the longevity of my career.
Totally. What's the deal with the agency? I saw so it's called CoLoop, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Can you talk a bit about like what that is and why you're involved with an agency, or what they really do?
Yeah, so it's basically artist representation at its core. So, having an agent who can handle contracts and scheduling and a lot of the business side of things. I would say CoLoop is different in that it's kind of a collaborative experience, and that, all of the artists that are on the roster, we meet up, every couple months, we chat, we're definitely in community, and everybody is, helping out everybody in like, I guess, mentorship ways and, lending advice and all that stuff. But I think what's really nice about CoLoop is that my agent can kind of just be whatever I need him to be, and he's very flexible in that. And so I am a terrible communicator when it comes to like emails and keeping up with clients and all that stuff. And so he's like so good at that. He's like the most eloquent person I know. And he just, he knows that world and can kind of take that burden away from me. And for a long time, I knew of artist representation, but it was like, why would I pay someone else to do these things that I'm already doing for myself? And around the time when some of these bigger clients started rolling in and like these contracts started to get a little stickier, I was like, I definitely don't know how to navigate this stuff by myself. And so a friend of mine told me about CoLoop, and kind of just like tested it out for a while, and then took it on full time. So it's a huge game changer for me.
Huh. That's cool. And I would assume that, especially given that like you're balancing that with a full-time job, like that makes a huge difference, where it's like when you're doing your freelance work, you can kind of focus on the work, like on the, you know what I mean? On the creative thing that you want to be doing, and kind of leave the rest.
Yeah. And it's just like, I, especially as a person of minority status, like I don't think I understood how much I could really be asking for from clients for projects. I just like, I just don't have that expertise or that experience under my belt. And because my agent is working with all of these great artists and has been doing it for a while, like he knows what clients are willing to pay for, the work. And so to be getting that value is a big switch.
Yeah, I saw something you had said at some point, or somebody asked you like if you had any regrets in your career, and you said not fighting for my worth, which I thought was really interesting. Like, can you speak to that, or like what would you kind of tell your younger self maybe on that like topic?
I mean, I think a lot of it is just like I would tell myself like you're better than you think you are. I think there's always going to be room for growth, and there's always going to be room to be better at what you do. But where you are at now is because you worked hard, and like that value is there. Whether or not someone is willing to pay for that is, not, it shouldn't be tied to, your self-worth. And I think it just takes time to learn that, and having enough people in your ear saying that you are good enough.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And I think it's a tough thing, and seems to be such a common thing, like with design, or especially more on the like art side of graphic design, like on that kind of spectrum, where it's like pricing is tough, and all it takes is a few people being like, dude, like, we're not going to pay you that much. And then it's like, well, okay, I guess that's my price. I guess that's what I'm worth.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, just trying to like understand the value that you can actually bring to something. Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough thing, but that's cool. Actually, okay. So speaking of like your freelancing, it's called Simon and Moose. So what's the deal with Moose here? Like, is he involved like sometimes, or is he just, his name's in the thing and he's not really pulling his weight here, or like what's going on?
I think that ultimately his name is in the thing and he's not actually really contributing. Simon and Moose really is just me, but
right.
That door, because my brother is a graphic designer and he's very skilled at what he does, like if he ever wanted to be more involved, I would always be super willing to kind of let him. And like, we have a shared email too, so if there are projects that come in that I don't feel like I have time for, or is not like suited to like my skill set, then it's always up for grabs for him if he wants to take that on. But he's got a little kid and a family and a job of his own, so it's definitely he's not getting pressure from me to pull more weight.
Right. And like on your end, like do you think about ever wanting to just say, okay, I'm just gonna freelance full time, or does that not really interest you?
I think so. For the longest time, I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not interested in that. But I think it was really because I was pulling in a lot of small gigs and not making enough money to be able to support myself. And now I make a full income just from freelancing. And so the last couple of years, it definitely has been something that I've been throwing kind of back and forth. It feels like it's getting close to the right time, and I just want to kind of get my ducks in a row before making that jump, because it would be like cutting my income in half. So, and I could do it and I would have more time to dedicate to it and all of these things, but it's just always so scary.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of interesting hearing it from you, who certainly from the outside, I know like there's always so much more, but like, working with big clients, working with like Adobe and Netflix and this kind of thing, where it's like, it's kind of it's like kind of nice, honestly, to see that like, no matter where people seem to like be along that kind of track, it's still a scary leap to be like, okay, I'm just going to leave my full-time job,
Yeah.
Actually, okay, we can 100% cut this out if you don't want to talk about it, but I saw that it was like one of your like AMA things on Instagram, and it was about how like at your previous job, or when you left, they like accused you of stealing something, or like, was there like a story there? And again, like, yeah, we I don't know if you want to talk about this.
No, I mean, it was my first job, so a few jobs back, but I don't know, there was a lot of weird like vibes at that job in general. And
what do you mean by weird vibes? Like,
it was just like a very new company. The leadership, it was not leading a company was not necessarily something they had a lot of experience with. So there was a lot of like learn as you go as far as, running a company, which I think just left a lot of space for some weird experiences. And like, I was the only Black person, which I almost always am the only Black person at a job, and it's like whatever. But there was a lot of just like microaggressions and things like that. And I loved most of my coworkers, and it was overall like something I really enjoyed doing, but I wasn't getting paid enough. I wasn't getting benefits. And so I ended up leaving. And when I left, I was like packing up all my stuff. And, I've, got a lot of art supplies and things like that because I was doing a lot of lettering work there. And so I had, I left with quite a large tub.
True.
And they were just like, is all of that yours on my way out? And I was just like, yes, I spent my own money, which I'm not getting paid a lot. So it was, I don't know, it was just a weird thing, and just like a bad taste in my mouth when I left. So
damn. Yeah, that sucks. That sounds really shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting, like I was looking through your Twitter. I do extensive research, So, but no, it's just like interesting. I saw you had. I think it was you retweeted something that was like all the subtle things you have to do to make it clear that you're not stealing. Like if you're like a Black person at a whatever at the mall.
Yeah.
And it's just the kind of stuff that like obviously I never think about. That's not a thing in my world, but it's like yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to bring it up because I think it's really interesting and like just kind of a good reminder. I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I think it like a lot of my friends are white and don't have, like you're saying, don't have that experience. And so, and I think like it happens so much. I can't speak for all Black people, but I think this is probably true in general. Like it happens so much that it like I'm not thinking about it when I do it. It's just like a natural part of the way I, interact with this world. And it is kind of just nice to talk about it occasionally, because it is like, I like literally when I'm walking into a place, I like can feel myself taking my hands out of my pockets, making sure I don't have a hood on, just a lot of like little actions that, when you're doing this over the course of your life is just like another level of like exhaustion on top of everything else that we experience as humans. So I think it's ultimately it's not gonna, end me or do anything terrible, but it is just like we're existing with a little extra level of resistance in this life, and it's not fair, and we should probably do something about it. But at this point, what's gonna change?
Yeah. Yeah. Damn. Well, yeah, I appreciate you talking about it, because I think, like you said, it's like the kind of thing that you just don't know that there's this whole other level for other people that if you're a white dude, you probably have never once thought about,
Yeah.
But cool. Well, I appreciate you chatting.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Cool.
Well, this was cool, and keep doing what you're doing. I really love your work.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been a fun conversation.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Graphic Design is Fun podcast. If you want to support the show, you can share it with your friends, share it with your coworkers. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can leave a 5-star review. Any of those things helps a ton. Really appreciate it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Oh, and you can follow on Instagram at Graphic Design is Fun. Yeah. And Cymone is very open, very real. Okay, side note. Why do I say open? Like open. People have told me actually that I say open weird, and I never really believed them, but now hearing that clip of me say open. Yeah. I don't say open, I say open.